I am delighted to be with you. It is an honor to be serving as a support sabbatical minister as Reverend Hannah is away on sabbatical, taking needed rest, and will surely come back renewed and even zestier and more wonderful than Hannah already is. Hannah is irreplaceable. Hannah and I got to have discussions about this fellowship and all the wonderful ways that you are showing up as channels of a larger love in this community. And one of the opportunities I have of being able to be in lots of different Unitarian Universalist pulpits is that I get to remind you about how powerful and beautiful all of you are. I get to see sometimes what often can get taken for granted, all the special machinations of love and care that go in not only to a Sunday service, but go into how this community cares for one another and also goes way beyond these walls. And as Adrienne Marie Brown reminds us in her poem, we need good news to remember who we are and to celebrate the little gifts and accomplishments and moments of beauty we find even now. When the poet continues through the refrain, even now, one can't help to begin to think about this now that we're in, the challenges of this time, the challenges in the wake of storms and tornadoes, the challenges of institutional racism in our country and in systems all over, the challenges of providing a presence and accompaniment in the midst of the ongoing and rising fascist state. And even now, here you are. Here you are in this space to be a presence of love to perhaps the neighbors around you, or to receive love that is so deeply needed. I had an opportunity to hear about all the justice ministries at the fellowship and all the ways that you're serving, and I just want to reflect that back. Everything that is already happening and the opportunities ahead for continued focus and deepening. But we're in a time of year that in the Northern Hemisphere, for those who are more earth-centered or pagan, coming from more European traditions, where one has just celebrated what's called the first harvest. And so this is called Lammas or Lunasa, and Lammas actually comes from the Celtic, and some people called it Loafmas, because it was around being able to get that first harvest to create a loaf of bread. And during this time of observing the light changing, getting closer to the time of fall equinox, looking forward in anticipation of a larger harvest. And for those in agrarian communities, of course, that means the grain that will continue to sustain life through the winter, setting up preserves from all the bounty that's around us that's getting soaked as we speak. Blackberries, squash, pears are showing up. But with that comes the anxiety and the worry. What about the big harvest? There's still more to be harvested. And we have hopes for what can still be harvested in the future. Even now. Now, I get the opportunity to do prison ministry, Unitarian Universalist prison ministry, and support people who go into Logan Women's Prison, and one woman who actually helps women there who are of the pagan tradition to observe the movements of the year. And one of those is coming up is the fall equinox. And the opportunities that come about when I think about folks who are locked up, to have the opportunity to think still about that great hope. And much of that great hope and my experience of accompaniment is getting out of prison. But also being able to create a larger sense of commitment, beyond just what it's like to get out of prison, but to envision a world beyond that time when one is back in the free world. One is able to anticipate what that might be like, even though it is usually a very mysterious and vulnerable experience. One of the opportunities that I get in doing the prison ministry work is hearing about how moving it is for folks who are just coming in new to Unitarian Universalism who are in prison. The messages that we extend out about our generosity of spirit with love at the center means so much to people who are locked up inside. I think about one of our advisory council members, Lonnie Smith, one of my dear friends. He's been locked up for 36 years. He's probably not going to get out for another 2 or 3 years. And he always wants me to tell everyone that he is so proud of Unitarian Universalists for being boots on the ground. And that even when we show up inside prisons, we're not there to get a notch on our belt for another soul saved. We understand that we ourselves are being saved in the process of transformation and relationship, that we all have so much to learn from one another. And then our other advisory council member, Patrice Lumumba Daniels, he always lifts up and wants me to share how important it is that Unitarian Universalism lifts up and celebrates our shared humanity. He always wants us to be reminded that those who are locked up are human, because the system does not communicate that. So it is an opportunity to be given the chance to see how much these theologies mean to folks and mean to us, to celebrate these ways in which our practices as Unitarian Universalists mean so much to us in the free world and to people who are in prison. The invitation always is to take a moment, especially in this time of Lammas, of the first harvest, and to think about what are the things that we can celebrate. That it's okay to be happy about that little harvest of the blackberry. And what are those little celebrations in our lives, those little accomplishments that bring us closer to that world we dream of? Perhaps it's a sacred intention that you have been working towards, making real in your own life. Whatever that may be, those little accomplishments are, Lammas invites us to sit with those and to wonder about them and to celebrate them. So instead of always focusing on that big, hairy, audacious goal, which I know is very important, especially to those in congregational-based community organizing, like Esther, which is, I celebrate that, and that there are these little moments that we can continue to celebrate in these liminal times that we're in. So it's about, as we're reminded by the poet, being present here and now. And sitting with what that anxiety might be for all the farmers and agrarian communities, the anxiety of the not yet, that which has not yet come to harvest. And being real about that anxiety, and having the opportunity in a faith community to sit together in those worries and anxieties and hold each other, carry each other through. Adrienne Marie Brown writes about reclaiming the moment, that we can, even now, continue to reclaim ourselves as agents of love in the world, as we are celebrating who we are already and also looking forward to who we are becoming. I recently had the opportunity to attend a community ministers retreat that was called Tending the Inner Landscape of Your Ministry, and it was rife with lots of metaphors about dirt and farming. And the opportunity we were given was to consider regenerative farming, so that we're not only thinking about the little harvests and the big harvest, but we're also thinking about the soil, and the soil that we are leaving when we are done tending it. So thinking about our legacy. So even now, in this liminal space, we can be present and caring with one another, and look forward to a time when we will leave rich soil for those who follow, the 7 generations beyond. Even now, we can anticipate that harvest with love at the center. Blessed be.